Welcome to Go Bucks. We have some breaking news on this Sunday afternoon, Matt. Sounds like the official allegations for the Connor Stalions scandal have come down from the NCAA. And the timing, I think, might be a little bit precarious. I'm sure you would agree. But yeah, I think that we are – I don't know if there's much news. I think it sounds like you saw a few things that came through. I should say NBC Sports is where we first saw this break. I've just got to say, I mean, it's the Connor Stalions. How many days is it? It's 2 days until the Connor Stalions comes out on Netflix. And so the timing seems really purposeful, but I don't know. I think you mentioned that there might be a couple new things coming out, or a couple things that maybe a couple points that you wanted to make on the official allegations, maybe that we didn't see from the draft. But Matt, go for it, man. Let's see.
All right. Well, before we even get started with anything, I think the first thing that we need to do is that any of the reports that you're hearing today that are going to be mentioning any kind of punishments are not real, because the notice of allegations doesn't include any punishments. So anyone that's talking about punishments right now is just guessing. With that out of the way, I also wanted to say it's interesting that the NCAA was able to do an entire investigation on this whole thing and get it finished all before Central Michigan was able to identify if Connor Stalions was actually on their sideline, which hasn't still been confirmed by them, even though the NCAA has confirmed it. I think that part is hilarious. But anyway, let's go back to the timeline. I guess the one thing that would sort of go against our joint conspiracy theory that this timing was intentional was the draft was actually first leaked August 4th. So that was done well before now. And, I think the majority of what was in that draft is probably going to be what comes out, what actually was given to Michigan today. We haven't heard any. I will say that the one thing that is interesting is we haven't gotten any leaks of what was in the official NOA. And I would think if it was really good for Michigan, that Michigan would try to leak that out, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. There's definitely some politics behind this, the politics of timing, and it's PR. And so you're right. I think they probably would try to leak that, but at the same time, I don't know I'm trying to figure out what the NCAA's end game is as far as the timing. And I feel like it's got to be tied to Connor Stalions' Netflix special, but I don't 100% know that for sure either, because his Netflix special is in 2 days. And we don't know what
I could give you a couple of reasons on the timing, because even going back to last year, like his suspension and everything, the timing on that was sort of right before the toughest stretch in their season. And, Sharon Moore was able to get through that with Harbaugh only helping during the week, but not actually coaching the games. So it seems like a lot of the timing has been sort of intentional. Kind of makes me think that it's partially done because they maybe think that they don't have enough to punish any of the people because everyone left. So they're like, well, we can't get any of them because they've all left and gone and gotten other jobs, and we can't punish them there, even though the NCAA has sort of told the NFL to punish Jim Tressel and Pryor, and they were actually suspended in the NFL. But that's never been done for anyone else. But so the interesting thing, let's just highlight a few of the things that were in the draft NOA. Like basically, there's only one thing from the draft NOA that I thought was important. Only one thing. So the school itself faces a level 1 violation charge because of a pattern of non-compliance within the football program and institutional efforts to hinder or thwart the NCAA's investigation. To me, that's the only thing, especially with all the coaches being gone, that's the only thing that really matters. Then the second thing that could potentially matter a little bit is now that the cheeseburger gate, which was the previous allegations that they got in trouble with, which was really just illegal recruiting during COVID, and then not cooperating with the NCAA about that. So they got some really strict violations for what should have been a minor thing. Like there wouldn't have been any kind of suspensions or anything for that had Harbaugh just came out and just said he screwed up and talked to the NCAA and admitted it. Like there literally wouldn't have been anything that happened, but he just never cooperates. And it's just been maybe potentially that's why the NCAA is wanting to stick it to Michigan and everyone involved in this situation, because, like they're used to having people cooperate with them, and Harbaugh has been very against that. And then,
and for good reason, though. I mean, they were getting after him for these piddly recruiting violations when other teams were dropping. That's not going to hurt
you, though, if you just like take it. Like, people get level 2 and 3 violations all the time, but if you, as Tressel shows you, it's not the crime that gets you; it's the cover up.
He didn't have
not cooperating. Those are the two.
They didn't have like a red-handed lie on him. He said he couldn't remember. Was his word. Which, his lawyers were in the room, of course. And I think he's I thought they got after him just because he was so outspoken about paying players, like revenue sharing for players.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that as well.
Upset,
so that's part of it. But the other thing that I wanted to address, which was sort of new, that came out today, was Nicole Auerbach had a source that told her that Jesse Minter and Denard Robinson are working with the NCAA on a negotiated resolution. So it's a split case, and the rest will go to the Committee on Infractions. So everyone is sort of replying to her, but how is that possible if this was a lone wolf?
But those might have to do with just those small recruiting violations where kids were getting some merch. There
was some small violations there. And the other thing I think I wanted to point out that I think is important is, if you don't really follow NCAA football closely and their how they're punishing people, you would just assume that because people are going to Texas and the recruiting is, they're giving them Lamborghinis, and USC is potentially, getting star receivers from Purdue and enticing them to come there and giving them lots of money, and no one's doing anything about any of this. So everyone's just like, well, the NCAA has no power anymore. But that would be incorrect, because the way to phrase that is the NCAA has no power when it comes to anything related to the NIL, because they lost the antitrust case. So what they do have power for is any of the rules that don't deal with NIL and lying to them.
They're coming down hard.
And they are coming down hard on the few things that they have power over still. And this is one of them.
Like you said it, though, they really got after Harbaugh. They gave him a year-long suspension from coaching, and then a 4-year
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, even as an Ohio State fan who wants, Michigan to get all the bad things happening to them, to me, it seemed like a very, as far as what he did, giving recruits food during COVID. I mean, I don't know. I think the only way I could see that as being bad is the fact that he just wasn't cooperating or whatever with the investigation. That's the only part of that seems like it's worthy of any kind of a crime punishment.
It sounds like, at the beginning I thought, oh my gosh, they're not going to do anything. I've been such a naysayer on a lot of this, because
that one was big. That was a big punishment for that.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
I would have never in a million years
what the heck they're going to come back with this Connor Stalions stuff.
Yeah,
because I was so shocked at how devastating they were to Harbaugh. Not that it was really that devastating in practice, because he's gone. But that's a ridiculous amount of punishment for what he did. And so what does that mean for the other allegations? Does that mean Michigan's going to get wins vacated now? Are they just going to go completely overboard? I can see you smiling.
If our viewers forgot, we do have a running bet on that one. So
I do. Yeah, I know. If Michigan does get any wins vacated, I have to sing the Ohio State fight song, which I'm going to have to look up the words. I didn't even realize they had words to that song until just recently. But I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm wondering now. I'm scared that the NCAA is going to way overreach on punishments now, and Michigan's just going to have to suck it up somehow. I'm sure they're going to fight to some degree.
I have two other quick points. Number one, awesome. So we had, I think we mentioned Harbaugh and Moore are now repeat offenders. Even though, so when Moore found out that the draft allegation was, or actually whenever not the draft allegation, whenever the Connor Stalions news initially broke, he deleted the text messages between himself and Connor Stalions. And then they were able to recover them, and he turned them over. I'm guessing that wouldn't have been turned over had they been bad. So, and anyway, those text messages that he deleted were only a level 2 violation. So on its own, with the timing of deleting it when that came out, it looks bad. The text we can assume from the fact that it was only a level 2 that he's only getting that violation because he deleted the text, not because there was anything terribly bad or anything bad at all on those texts. I don't think anything was bad on them. So it's just going to come into play whether or not he gets some, a show cause, suspension, or I mean, I think something is going to happen to him because he's a repeat offender now. And then, as going back to you and I, at how we started the show, Josh Pate agreed with us and said that the NCAA timing is never an accident. And this whole process, it just seems like the dates that everything sort of happened, it just seemed like it was very intentional. Whether it deals specifically with the documentary or whether it's just the start of the season. I mean, it's just everything. It just seems like it's being done on purpose.
Probably both. And so, so I guess the question now is, and if you're done with the points you were about to make, did you have one more point, or were you done?
Yeah, I did have one more.
Okay,
it's just interesting that so the clock starts today, and one of the other interesting things that I saw was, so what's 90 days from today, Nate? I don't know if you know.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the calendar. What is it?
So that means that if Michigan takes the full 90 days, they will return their answer to the NOA right before the game. Ohio State versus Michigan.
Well, they'll return it back, and then there will be more deliberation, and so yeah.
And then the NCAA then has 30 days after that. So that means the 120-day clock, if everyone takes the maximum amount of time, will start today. We will get an answer no later than December 23rd, right before Christmas. Merry Christmas in advance. This year is going to be a good Christmas for you, Nate.
Well, okay, so the question has always been now, what is going to be the final punishment for all this? And I think it might just come down to, is the NCAA, do they have their heart on for Michigan and Harbaugh, or is it really just Harbaugh? Because I have to say that was like the most small wiener energy I've ever seen about NCAA trying to suspend Jim Harbaugh that badly, knowing that he isn't going to have to even like serve it, essentially. I mean, he's basically like,
well, they're making sure that after he flames out of the NFL that he can't come back for 4 years or however long it was, right?
Sure. Yeah. No,
but
I don't think that's going to affect him.
It's interesting. So if you were Michigan, I guess the interesting part now is, do you try to take the full amount of time? Because it seems like I was surprised because I didn't think it would happen this quickly. Like the other investigation took just as long, if not longer, for because that was during COVID, so that was a really long investigation, right? Because that came out recently, whereas this one is, this just happened last fall, and they're already getting the NOA out, in less than a year. Like that's a really, really. I mean, they said it was going to be expedited because of the serious nature of this violation.
The serious nature, yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing that, like I said, the only thing that really mattered from it was the level 1 against the school for the pattern of noncompliance within the football program and the institutional efforts to hinder the investigation. So those two things, being a level 1 against the school, I mean, that could be a devastating penalty. Like, I just don't know, everyone just sort of assumed like 10 or 15, 20 years ago that, ever since the USC, when they were banned, that was the last time a big school has really been banned from postseason, right?
Yeah, very true.
So, Michigan makes a lot of money for the Big Ten, for the NCAA, for the TV networks. The TV networks have a lot of pull in all of this stuff. So I don't know. I mean, there's also a lot of gambling that goes along in football nowadays, especially with, everyone's doing FanDuel and everything else. So it's interesting if, they're kind of want to set an example to make sure that no one does any obvious cheating, like forgetting to make your payments to people on Venmo private. You almost deserve a strict penalty just because of how dumb he was. I mean, the weird thing, I mean, he's obviously a smart guy. He was able to, did you see like the preview of the Netflix special? Like
I haven't.
He was
I need
going
to do
through. That. He was going through, and some of it was just signs that he was making on his own that they were going to be using. So he would go and he would make the sign, and he would take a picture of it, and he would have a book. And now these are, I think, signs of things that Michigan was going to use for their own team, and then also signs that other people were using. And he made like a book that had 400 pages of 300 or 400 different signs that he just took images of, and then wrote down underneath them, like, and it's just super elaborate how much effort he put into this scheme.
Man.
All that part is legal, but I mean, the guy is obviously a smart guy to be able to do all this stuff. It's just then he goes and screws up the easy part, which is making your Venmo public, getting caught like on the dumbest possible way.
You're bringing up some things that have concerned me about this Netflix special that I want to bring up. Real quick, though, everyone, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We are gearing up for this coming up season.
We're going to have a show again later tonight, actually.
Yeah, we're going to have another. We're going to put together a preview show. Not sure when that's going to drop live or when that's going to
probably 9 o'clock tonight. Hopefully.
Yeah, if we do it live, we'll see. We'll see if that one's live or not. But yeah, please subscribe to the channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. But back to that. So what really scared me leading up to this Netflix special is Stalions seems like a guy who is really smart, like you said, and in kind of a self-promoter. Is he going to go out there and really just sell his craft on Netflix to really show how good he did? And to him, it's kind of a kudos to him that he does it. And I don't blame him at all for selling how good he is at doing this. What that gets into, though, is now every Ohio State fan, every team that Michigan's ever played is going to say, oh my gosh, he did such a good job that it did have this like elaborate effect on the game. And Michigan was able to cheat, which isn't really cheating, stealing signs, I guess. But the cheating part happened when he pre-scouted. Is that going to give the NCAA more credence to say, oh, you pre-scouted and did such a good job with this. You somehow turned your 2-6 team in 2020 into a playoff team just by doing these signs, and which is absolute horseshit. I mean, I think we all know, but the NCAA is looking for a reason to really drop the hammer down. And so that's one of those things that scared me. Another thing that scared me was that maybe Connor Stalions was going to drop a bomb on Netflix. That's way less possible, I think. I don't think he's going to do that.
No chance.
But I do think everyone's going to come away from that being highly impressed, like you are. And now you're going to say, oh, well, no wonder he beat Ohio State, for 3 years. And which is all, it's going to magnify the entire sign stealing process. And that's what's been scaring me and what that's going to lead to. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, going forward, it's not going to matter because they have the helmet communication starting this year because of Michigan. So we can thank Connor for that. And the other interesting thing is going to be, I think quarterbacks are going to have to, or not going to have to know nearly as much. I don't know if you've read the rules, but I think you're only allowed to have communication with the quarterback for the first, or one person on the team, whether it's offense or defense, for the first 10 or 12 seconds or something. So that means, if you're the quarterback, it's a really big advantage for the offense to make sure you do everything in that, in a hurry up offense where the coach or the offensive coordinator up in the booth, they see like an adjustment when you make a call, then they can tell you exactly what call to do. So the quarterback can be a freshman, not need to know all these coverages because he's being told, okay, check down to this because they're moving here. So it's going to potentially give a big advantage to young, talented quarterbacks that don't have the experience that you would normally need to be able to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah, you would have thought that would have helped DJ at FSU yesterday, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we digress. But okay, so let's kind of wrap this up a little bit. But what do you think is what do you think are going to be if there's going to be some major violations? What would those be? It would be a bowl ban and vacating wins, right? Those are the two big ones.
Yeah,
I'm thinking,
I have a
unless you're
hard
going to think of something
time.
else.
Yeah,
Losing a few
I
scholarships.
still have a hard time thinking that they're going to do a bowl ban. I think Moore will get some sort of suspension. I'll be surprised if it's like the full show cause where he has to sit out a year or something. I mean, I think it's possible based on what they're saying. I don't think he'll get that many games. I think he'll get some. I think that they are going to vacate some wins, but I don't think that they're going to do a bowl ban. But again, I was surprised with the punishment last time. And as a repeat offender, I haven't really looked too close into that, but it just makes, even minor crimes when you're on probation, it makes it a lot more serious.
Yeah. If you would have asked me before the punishments came down for Burgergate, I would have said, no, nothing, no vacated wins, no bowl ban, no nothing. But now after the Burgergate.
Plus they've been coming after Harbaugh pretty hardcore from the beginning here. So
yeah,
they definitely want to prove a point, and they're mad that he left. They're mad he didn't cooperate, and no one really cooperated except, so,
well, they cooperated. They cooperated and gave Michigan. They cooperated with everything they had to. They weren't going to give them any personal information, essentially, which I don't blame them for. But that's what the NCAA considers not cooperating. Is you didn't give me your personal cell phone and your personal email address and all that stuff that you're supposed to get. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. It could be devastating. I would have said no before, but I kind of agree with you on the bowl ban because, like you said, there's TV contracts, there's
too much money. Yeah,
they don't lose. No one
loses any money if games are vacated, but you lose money on the bowl games.
They'll fine Michigan $10 million in the Big Ten, and TV contracts don't.
Yeah,
they don't get affected by that. Punish Michigan individually all you want. Vacate wins. Go ahead and do that, but don't take bowl money. Don't take TV money because Ohio State
thing is going to be
the crown jewels of the.
Do you think more? Do you think more though? Because that's like the only immediate thing that could really derail your team. Because I still think you have a really good team, even though there's a lot of inexperience starting wise. But a lot of the players have played, so there's experience, but just not starting experience, and a lot of elite players on defense. So the interesting thing is, Moore gets suspended for half a season. I mean, what happens to your team then at that point?
Yeah, he better not. I really don't think he's going to.
Well, actually, no. What are we talking about? That's not going to happen, right?
Back.
Because
they're not
going to happen until December, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
unless
it would have to be super expedited because Michigan is going to have to get back with them, and then we don't know the punishments yet. Because the punishments still have to come down from the NCAA, and then Michigan is going to fight those. So we're not even going to see any.
Well, we don't know they're going to fight them. They could just, if it's not going to be a super serious penalty, I'm sure they're talking with them on what the penalties are. So if they don't think the penalties are going to be super serious, the smart move is to, they've already had the draft, so that means the attorneys could already have the reply pretty much done. So, I mean, they could, if they want to get this reply out within a few days or a week, and then, then NCAA gets it back in 30 days, maybe Moore has a short suspension, but then he's back for the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Depends on the timing, though. Yeah, and it depends on Michigan's response. You're right. I mean, Michigan might just come back and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. They might get ahead of it, say, here's what we're going to do. I don't think Michigan's going to volunteer to vacate wins or to do a bowl ban. But I think they'll volunteer to do some other things. Yeah. You
don't think that they would lose some wins other than the national title just to get this over with?
Nobody would care if they did, but I mean, then you just basically have to vacate all the wins that Connor Stalions that Connor Stalions was doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't think in the grand scheme of things anyone really cares because I still remember losing to Ohio State the year that Tattoo Gate and. I think that game was vacated, right? I don't even know. I'm not even 100% sure. Vacated. Maybe I think it was, but
I think the whole season was.
Yeah, maybe it was, but I that doesn't matter to me. I mean, I still saw Michigan lose that game.
Yeah, no, I know, but it'll just be interesting to see if it happens.
It's more of a symbolic. Vacating wins is symbolic. So I could see that maybe happening, but I don't think they'll volunteer. I don't know that Michigan will volunteer that.
Well, that would give you a chance to celebrate your 1,000th win again in 2.5 years.
I have been looking forward to celebrating that twice. Very true.
That would be unique.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We will talk to you soon. The season's about to start. Super excited about that. And it's the best time of the year. And we will talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Go Bucks.
Go Blue.